Go. Hello, breadwinners. Welcome back to Easy Tiger Bakery on this busy holiday weekend. Lots of people are getting bread for the 4th of July weekend. It's exciting. Um, so we're here in the mixing room today. I apologize if there's a little noise in the background, but it's kind of a busy day and it's exciting to be in here with y'all. Uh, Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the breads here at Easy Tiger and a little bit about how we've had to pivot and change during this pandemic situation. So when this first happened and all restaurants shut down, that was a big blow to us. A huge percentage of our wholesale business was outside restaurants. But we were very fortunate and to be able to pivot then and get new partnerships with HEB and Randall's and continue and even grow our partnership with Whole Foods Market that we've had for so long and get our breads more um, into more retail outlets, which is really great for me because I love working with chefs and their menus. But I really want bread on y'all's table. I want bread in the homes, and that's exciting to me. So in this process, when we had to pivot like that, we also took the opportunity to really cut back our line and concentrate on some of the things that we do the best. And we had gotten to where we had so many different products because we were just trying to meet everybody's demand. And that's a good thing to try to do, but it got us off focus. And I've always believed that a bakery should have focus, just like a restaurant has focus. Unless you're talking about, your corner diner that has, everything from Greek salads to meatloaf on their menu. Most restaurants want to focus on a type of food or a type of cuisine. And I believe a bakery should do the same thing, that we should know what our strength is and really concentrate on and focus on our menu. So one of the things that we're doing now as we cut way back on our product line, but now we're gradually in a controlled way seeing which are the right things to add back in. And we've kind of restructured our menu. We haven't really changed the breads that we make. They're still the same great breads, but now we're restructuring our menu a little bit into three different categories and renaming our breads. So we have three categories. We have our easy breads, we have our Austin line, and we have our Hill Country line. Our easy breads are toasting and sandwich breads. This is our easy sourdough. It's our sourdough pan loaf that we've made for years, but we're calling it our easy sourdough now because that's what it is. Everybody knows how to use it. You want to make great sandwiches with it, toast in the morning. It's perfect for that. And then we have a new bread actually that we introduced called the Easy Multigrain. A little different from our older multigrain, but it's a hearth baked bread. But I added a little bit of blended olive oil in there to make a thinner crust and a tighter crumb so that it's more like a sandwich and toasting bread. But it still has a really great flavor. It's baked on the hearth. It just doesn't have that really hearty hearth crust that we're going for in these breads. It's just a little different direction, but it still has a great organic 9-grain cereal in it. It has whole wheat in it. It's a wonderful bread. And then also in our easy line are our hamburger buns and our sausage buns. We make this great New England style buns. We have these special pans that they all bake, 10 of them baked together. And then you get to pull them apart and you actually cut these buns this way down instead of across. And so you can, because there's the torn pieces in between, you can griddle them on each side. They're great that way, aka lobster rolls, but they're great for sausages or lobster rolls if you want to make them, or crab rolls or something. Then we have our Austin line. That's these classic kind of urban European breads. Of course, the French baguette. This is our Austin baguette. It's the same baguette we've been making since the beginning. Nice crisp crust, open interior, nutty flavor, classic French baguette. That belongs in our Austin line. Same thing with the ciabatta, Italian sandwich bread. This ciabatta, this is a little trivia for you, but ciabatta seems like it's this ancient bread, and I'm sure they were making similar breads in Italy for centuries. But what we know as the modern ciabatta was actually first made in the 1980s. A group of Italian millers and bakers got together because they were tired of seeing too many sandwiches on the streets made with imported French baguettes, and so they developed their own Italian sandwich bread. And now even the French bakers make ciabatta. It's a worldwide phenomenon. Then we have this one that you all know so well. It's our Austin sourdough, made with our sourdough starter and our unbleached artisan flour from Central Milling. Uh, Again, like I said before, the beauty of this flour is that it's one variety that was chosen for its flavor. And Central Milling finds farmers that want to grow this for them and pays them a premium to grow that special type of flour or wheat for flour, and we get this great tasting bread from it. So this is our white sourdough made with only naturally leavened, only with that sourdough starter. It's that bread that we do so many of these days. That's our Austin line. Then we have our Hill Country line. I love the Texas Hill Country. And these are more old world country style breads. Most of them these two certainly, they have a whole grain component to them as well as also the sourdough starters. So this bread is a French pain au levain, same bread we've been making since the very beginning, sort of at the core of our whole line forever. It's a sourdough, but remember, this one has some spelt in it, whole grain spelt, about 20%, and a little bit of rye as well, whole grain rye at 3%. This gives it a depth of flavor, and it's just this wonderful food bread. It goes with charcuterie and cheeses, ripe cheeses especially. Again, made with a sourdough starter, no commercial yeast in this bread. The difference between the Austin sour and this sour, the Hill Country sour, is this one is fed twice a day, and it's about 8 to 12 hours before we make the dough, and it's kept at a colder temperature. This one is fed 3 times a day, the starter, for our levain, or Hill Country sourdough. And that last feed is closer to the dough. It's only about 3 hours from that last feed before we make the dough. What that means is that we're getting more of that complexity from the sourdough, but more of that lactic acid balance and not that sharper sour that's in the Austin sour. This is a very classic old world bread. Then the other bread that right now that we have in the Hill Country line is our Hill Country rye. It's that same German rye that we've been making. It's 40% whole grain rye. The rest is our unbleached artisan flour, but it has its own rye sour. Started with rye flour only and is fed every day with rye flour. We also keep this sour at a warmer temperature. We actually keep it in the proofer all the time. So that balances the flavors really nicely. So that's kind of just, again, it's our same Easy Tiger breads that we've been doing. We're concentrating on the ones that we love the best and y'all seem to love the best. And then we're looking at what can we add to these lines to kind of keep them in these categories. So I'm sure you'll see another couple of nice whole grain breads, maybe even more whole grain than these, come into the Hill Country line. We always have a little room for things in our easy line, and we'll probably add 1 or 2 into the Austin line as well. It's just a way for us to focus on what we're doing and hopefully explain it well to you as well. Anyway, that's the fun thing for today. I'm very much a traditionalist when it comes to bread making. I like when I'm doing French breads, I like to look at the French tradition and learn from that and make my breads following that tradition. When I'm doing German breads, it's a different way of making breads, but I kind of follow that German tradition. I do different things with the Italian breads. That's the way I learned how to bake and that I continue to like to bake. The other thing is I've always been an advocate. So I love sourdough baking. I've been doing it for a long time. Um, Back in my first head baker job back in Seattle at Grand Central Bakery, our sourdough bread was featured on Sunset magazine cover one year because as the best in the West. That was really exciting. So I've been baking sourdough breads for a long time, and I love that process. And I've really gotten even more back into sourdough baking. I've actually been doing sourdough baking at home now. I go home from baking at work and bake bread. Actually, it's probably because I don't have my hands in the dough here as much as I'd like. But no, I've just been playing around with different things. This group has really inspired me to, when I get a question that I'm a little bit unsure about the exact answer, or then I like, oh, I'm going to go see. I'm going to try that out. So I'll have some tips from my home baking to share with you in the next couple of weeks. I've learned a couple of things myself. But I've also always been an advocate that you can use yeast, use commercial yeast, and make great breads as long as you do it right. That means using a small amount of yeast and still giving fermentation time. And also making pre-ferments, making starters, not sourdough starters, but starters with yeast. Now, sourdough starter, y'all know, you perpetuate that. You have that culture going, and it has both the wild yeast and that lactobacillus in there. Yeasted starters are different. You make them in advance of making your dough each time. You start them out. And yes, it's more of a monoculture in there. It's more just yeast fermentation, and it doesn't have the lactobacillus, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't give you really incredible flavor if you do it right. So we use starters in our breads. Almost all of our yeasted breads have a starter that's anywhere from 8 to 12 to probably 16, 18 hours before the dough is made. And that's giving it an incredible flavor and influences the textures inside. Like, you can't get a really nice open ciabatta without using some kind of a starter in there. So anyway, we make yeasted breads and sourdough breads, but we do it right. We don't have any, even our burger buns and stuff. They're made. The dough is made. It's a pan de mie dough. It's made and it's fermented for an hour, and then it's handmade by bakers up there. They have a couple of machines that help them divide them up and stuff, but they're making these by hand. Somebody's hands touches these, every single one of them. It's not just these big machines that kind of are taking the dough straight out of the mixer and dividing them and rolling them up, and then they pretty much go straight to the oven. So anyway, that's where we're coming from. We make bread. We make real bread here. We make a lot of sourdoughs, and we make some interesting yeasted breads as well. Thanks for following along. I hope you're having a great holiday weekend. A lot of you seem to be buying bread to celebrate with. I hope you are wearing your masks and social distancing for this weekend. Now it's not the time to be letting down your guard. So we're not here. We're certainly doing all the things to keep ourselves safe and keep baking bread for y'all, for Austin. All right. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon.